Hey there Blue Mages, Liam here, and welcome back to Blue Academy. Today I'm going to be talking about a frequently requested topic, soloing treasure maps as Blue Mage. It might sound crazy, but Blue Mages can actually solo group treasure map dungeons with the use of Basic Instinct, just like with regular dungeons. While this won't generate an obscene amount of money, it is still a very fun solo activity. First, let's talk about mimicry, as I think that's one of the bigger topics here. There are basically two choices here, healer mimicry and tank mimicry. We won't really talk about DPS mimicry because the only thing it brings is damage, and that's not really our main concern here. The argument for healer mimicry is that with Basic Instinct, Palmcure is effectively a 200 MP benediction. Angel Snack also provides some nice regen that allows us to have more damage uptime. However, healer mimicry is a bit more fragile than the tank mimicry. The argument for tank mimicry is that with the extra defensive stats, you need to heal way less, so you get extra uptime by default. On top of this, you have extra defensive cooldowns for dealing with tank busters. The downside is that White Wind becomes our main heal, and that costs a whopping 1500 MP. So, which one of these is better? Well, when I first started soloing maps, I was firmly in the healer camp. I may have just gotten lucky though, because when running maps to try to make this video, I got clapped again and again. Some groups are nearly impossible to survive when you get hit with a tank buster and auto attack combo. We could survive with Diamondback, but then mana becomes hard and it just takes way longer. Tank mimicry actually provides a lot more flexibility, and I'll show a run through a dungeon with tank mimicry to show you how much easier it is. First, let's talk about which abilities to take. So I'm using my sort of standard tank loadout here, but there are some things that we want to pick up, and there are some things not needed here. So, for example, Angel Whisper, we don't need that. We're not going to be rezzing anyone. Final Sing, definitely don't need that, because we don't want to get kicked out of the instance when we die. We will get rid of Bad Breath, because we don't really need that too much either. So that gives us a few free spots. Let's see what we want to pick up. So one of the things that we want, believe it or not, is actually Toad Oil. Promise it's not a meme. This is actually something that's pretty good. Does mitigate damage quite a bit in the treasure maps. We are going to grab another surprising one is Palmcure. This one is probably also surprising, and you know it's a small heal when we don't have healer mimicry. It's only 3,000 here. When we have Basic Instinct up, it'll be about 6,000. Actually, since we get synced down a little bit, it ends up being about 5,000. But this is good because sometimes we only need a little heal, and this is good for that. We will also grab Hydro Pole. It's still a good idea to keep Sonic Boom here, but we can actually use Hydro Pole as sort of our main filler here. The nice thing about Hydro Pole is we can just slurp enemies in. It's mostly for outside of the treasure map. Inside, a lot of things don't move around, but it's still good to have an AoE effect like that. There are a couple other things we want to grab. We want to get Ram's Voice and Ultra Vibration. And this is good for clearing out the enemies outside the map, but it's functionally useless inside the map. Nothing will be deathed or frozen or vibe checked or anything inside the dungeon, but it is really good for outside. And since some of these spells we don't really use a whole lot inside anyway, we can drop them and make room for that. Now, if you really want to min-max, you could switch and have an outside and an inside set and just switch those spells as you need, but we're going to change that, or we're just going to use the same thing for all of them. We're going to drop Diamondback because we don't really need to mitigate anything in there to the extent that Diamondback does. If we need to mitigate stuff, we'll use Dragon Force, we'll use Colonian Gate, we'll obviously have Mighty Guard up, and that'll be fine. We don't need Diamondback. Costs too much mana, doesn't really gain us a whole lot. But as I said, we'll pick up Rem's Voice and Ultra Vibration. Pull these onto our bar here. Set this up. We'll probably end up changing the way my bar is set up anyway, but this is probably good for now. The rest of the stuff we'll change, or we'll keep. Things like Off Guard we might not need. Glass Dance has somewhat limited damage for, you know, a full spell slot. Oh, actually, I am silly. Went through all this and I mentioned Basic Instinct. I didn't even put it on my bar. That is something. we'll grab that. We'll drop off guard and grab basic instinct. The rest of this is pretty much fine. You could grab other things if you want, but this is going to do you pretty well for just about everything. All right, so we got our spells. Now let's talk about how we actually get into a dungeon. The basic idea is we need to get a time-worn gazelle skin map. We need to find where it points to, dig up the coffer, kill any enemies around the coffer, and then go into a portal if it exists. So the first thing is to get a map. To do this, we can just buy a map on the market board, or every day you can gather one from level 70 nodes, and you can just see a time-worn gazelle skin map. It's not going to be on every single node, but it appears pretty frequently. This only took me like 3 nodes to actually find one. Okay, so we've got our map. What we're going to do is we're going to hit Decipher. This is going to show us a clue of where this actually is. And it says the Ruby Sea. So this is... Oops. Oh my goodness. There we go, Ruby Sea. This is going to say, oh, it looks like this is where the treasure map is. And the idea is you kind of look around here and try to figure out where the heck that actually is. Now, for me, I am pretty dreadful when it comes to this. Actually, I might have just found it. Well, so my point is not going to be made because it is definitely going to be right here. But normally what I would recommend going to heavensward.com. This will show you the treasure map locations for basically all the types of treasure maps. It's really helpful. And you will want to compare your picture with Heavensward, and it'll tell you the exact coordinates. This is especially helpful for the time-worn Thieves maps, if you get those. They tend to have really weird Z coordinates, and this can be really helpful. So once you find your map, now you actually need to go and dig it up. Okay, so this is where our map is going to be. So what we do now is we hit dig. And we find our treasure map. We'll open up this bad boy. It spawns enemies. Okay, so this is actually the easiest pattern. There's going to be 4 different enemies. All we do is we freeze them and vibe check them. There's a few different patterns. You can have 3 waves of 4 enemies. There'll be 3 different types of enemies, and those are kind of annoying. You have to AoE them. Phantom Flurry is good for that. Night Bloom's good for that. Sopranica is really good for that. You can vibe check one of the packs. Feel free to use your cooldowns because they all reset once we go in anyway. The other pattern that you can get is there will be 1 big enemy, which spawns 4 smaller enemies, and then another wave of 4 small enemies. If you can, it's helpful to get the big enemy weak so that it spawns the big one, or the little ones. Missile's really good for that. 1 missile hit will make it spawn it. You can vibe check that entire wave, and then just clear the last wave normally. Or you can just vibe check the big boss immediately, and then clear the 2 smaller waves together, since they end up spawning at the same time. But anyway, that was our thing. We open it up and we see if we get a portal. This time, we did not. You don't always get a portal. It's unfortunate. So, let's go pick up another map. So we're inside here. We're going to put up our Mighty Guard, put up our Basic Instinct, and we're going to smash that Arcane Sphere. I'm actually kind of glad that we got this one. The Shifting Altars is pretty difficult, so hopefully this is a sloppy run and show you how to recover. We'll see how it goes. Don't worry, you can't get sucked out on the first one, so we go on to this. So the basic flow for basically all of these is that the enemies will cycle through some number of abilities. One of them will almost always be a tank buster. And for that, we want to make sure that we're pretty much always topped off. This guy, I don't actually remember if he does do a tank buster. He might not. Might just be a bunch of AoEs to dodge. But very frequently, there will also be ads that spawn, usually at about half health. Oh, here's 2 ads. So these ones, these are kind of annoying, but they're not too bad. Stygian Release. I don't actually remember what this one does either. It's just a knockback. Okay. Oh, and then a stack. So that's basically the tank buster for our purposes. So, and this is why we like having Pomp here, because we don't want to have to sit here and spam White Wind constantly. You can see, as I said before, pretty much everything will be immune to our freezing effects. So it doesn't really help us too much here. But we're about half health. I'm going to White Wind to make sure we get topped off. The main danger with these types of ads is really just that it makes it harder to stay topped off without mashing White Wind. You can see we got the ads dead, so now we can go sort of into recovery mode. For this, we just start spamming some blood drains. Make sure you have blood drain, get some mana back. You can see it's not too bad. So now I will Song of Torment. There's a Stygian Release. So we should see the not the knockback, the stack right after the knockback, which we do. For that, I hit my Dragon Force. I hit a Colonian Gate. Oh, it didn't even pop it. There we go. Pro tip, you can bristle your Colonian Gate, and it ends up being a 1500 potency ability. Very, very strong. Also, Devour heals for quite a bit when we have Basic Instinct on, so... Aside from the nice HP buff, it does actually heal us, so make sure you're using that pretty much on cooldown as well. There's a Stygian Release. We should kill him before he gets the stack damage off. There we go. This is fake damage. We can just pretend it's not there. See? Okay. Open up our chest. Nothing too mind-blowing in there, but can't always be winners. Okay, another spooky enemy. So, in general, I kind of like to keep my Phantom Flurry and Supernica for when ads spawn. It's really good to have powerful AoE to try to melt those things fast. So obviously it slows this stuff down a little bit, but we're not in any rush here. Got five floors to get through, basically. We have an hour to do it. So it's not going to be as fast as if we have a full party. It's not super slow either. This is just a look away. Make sure to look away. Got our Night Plume back, so we'll hit that. So Hydro Pull would be slightly more damage if we're spamming it. The nice thing about Sonic Boom is we can just keep slide casting and outranging. Then we're not taking auto attack damage. So kiting is pretty strong here. Just another way to reduce the damage. Okay, so we spawned 2 Altar Keepers here. I'm just gonna quickly heal myself. Ooh, the spin. Okay, that's not too bad. I'll use Phantom Flurry. As I said, it's very good for AoE. I had to cut it short to dodge that cast there, but, you know, not a big deal. Words of Woe was a line AoE, so we'll dodge that. Eye of Fire. So here you can see it's cycling. I haven't actually seen this enemy myself, so I'm just seeing this for the first time. You can see it's pretty easy to figure them out. Spin. So this guy doesn't seem to actually have a tank buster. It's pretty good. Means we can play pretty greedy here, actually. And get him. Cool. Let's see what we get for our third. Oh, it's over here. Whoops. Now, most of my runs end after the first room. I don't even usually make it as far as the second boss. Let's see how we do here. Cool. We get to see a third. It's already further than almost all of my runs. I'm getting lesser summons, which is kind of lame, but it's not the end of the world either. Reckless Abandon is the tank buster. So for that, we just want to make sure that we heal up. And so he casts and then runs over to us. So you just want to make sure that you're ready to heal up from that, basically. It does hurt. As with any Skatine type enemy, it does chirp, which is a sleep. So you want to make sure that you get out of that. Void Call is where it spawns a bunch of things. And these are actually pretty scary just because there's so many of them. So for that, Phantom Flurry does make pretty quick work of these, which is nice. I have had it be the case where they spawn at the same time as like the dungeon crew or something, and then I'm kind of splitting my DPS and just getting smacked by them a lot. It's kind of scary. So there's Reckless Abandon. And I had to double cast White Wind there just because I was pretty low, and you don't want to die to that. Ideally, I use Colonian Gate or something to mitigate and, you know, get a big revenge damage on him, but actually, oh, I was too late. Or was I? Okay, cool. But you can see I didn't get the mitigation, so I was indeed too late. We'll just cast a couple Light Winds here. But this is where the tank mimicry is really strong. The Reckless Abandon there practically one-shots you if you're not in tank mimic. It's pretty crazy. Here. Just do that. Now, one thing I haven't actually used, which I should be using, is Cold Fog. Cold Fog is such a strong spell. I mentioned that kiting is really good. Cold Fog is our strongest kiting spell because we basically get 7 instant cast, well, shock strikes effectively, where it can run. So you can see even when it casts Reckless Abandon, it still has to run up to me. So, you know, pretty good there. And I probably should have used my Night Bloom a while ago, but I was trying to hold it because I thought I would be able to kill it faster, but I had to do a bunch of healing, so it was kind of slow. Not a big deal, though. As I said, this isn't a huge rush. We've been in here for 10 minutes. We're on 4 out of 5. Take it as slow as we need to. Spamming Palm Cure and spamming Blood Drain, spamming White Wind. It's totally fine. The actual risk of dying is pretty low, as long as we play it safely. And when ads come out, we have to make sure to kill them ASAP. Some ads can be scary. So here it looks like we're going to get kicked out. There's a chance that Ramuh saves us by shocking the Satomos. Maybe we get lucky. Nope. So we get kicked out. So that's our dungeon. And that's okay. In terms of loot, we got a lot of crap, to be honest. But in some previous runs I did, I got a bunch of emotes. I got some furniture that sells for a bit. I got... shoot, I can't remember. I got something that sold for like 300 or 400k. So it's decent money. It depends on your luck, but it's still fun either way. So that's pretty much it for the dungeon. Most of my runs do end early, even earlier than that, but I have seen some screenshots where people have made it all the way to the end by themselves. Either way, it's still something different to do, and it is quite a bit of fun. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to learn about. As always, thanks for watching, and good luck treasure hunting!